So Daniel, Caleb tells me you're a docile non-thinker. You want to tell me about that?
Why are you saying that?
I said that to you a few days ago, yesterday.
I'm a docile non-thinker.
You don't remember the conversation where you were talking about how much of a statist you were and how you just have to float your way through life and, let the government just fuck you every turn and
Whenever they want.
All right.
and you just don't do anything about it because, there's nothing you can do.
Here's my thing. And it goes back to the question I asked you earlier today, Jason. What do we do with people in our anarchical society who use force to get what they want?
So give me an example.
Okay, you're sitting over here. Government's gone. We live in an anarchical society. And somebody comes in and robs you.
I shoot
at
them.
gunpoint.
I shoot them.
Oh, but okay, you don't have your chance. They get away.
Okay.
All right, so they get away with your shit.
Yeah.
How do we punish them?
I would go hire somebody or go with my friends and take it back.
Okay, so you would hire someone.
Probably, maybe, yeah.
So you're a statist.
I don't understand how that works.
Right now, we
this
hire
is
the police
insane.
force to do these exact
No, we
things.
don't. I
don't.
never hired them. I never interviewed
That-
them. I don't support those thugs.
Yes, we did not hire them. And if we choose that we don't want them, we can't. If they're not doing the job that we do want, because some people support the police, so in a sense, they're agreeing to that they're hiring them in a sense.
Mhm.
But if they start not doing their job correctly, those people who did support them can't say, well, I don't support you anymore because you're not doing the job correctly. I want you to quit. That can't happen with the police. But if you hired an individual to do a job for you and he doesn't accomplish it, then you don't have to ever hire him again. You can find someone who will accomplish the job.
Okay, let's say he does his job well. And so the area starts realizing this guy, he's good at going out and finding the bad guy, right? So he gets hired all the time from many different people in our surrounding area because it's inevitable that people are going to continue to be exactly the way that they are. So you're going to have people that are breaking in houses, robbing people, stealing from people. Someone has to go round them up. Jason hires a guy. He does a good job. Our neighbor hears about it. He hires him too when something happens to him. And so now this guy gets hired over and over and over. He's the big dog. He is the police force in the area, right? As time goes on, he's had a good track record. Maybe he has an apprentice, and that guy works for him, and time goes by, and then he's at this point created a business for himself. He's a bounty hunter, basically.
Private investigator.
I don't see how, with enough time, this particular person doesn't gain enough power in the community because he's done a good job. And then the next generation comes and they're like, well, that guy trained under the guy that's been good for so long, right? I just feel like eventually we get back to exactly where we were.
But
you have
in
to
the system
allot
that we're talking about, if this person starts abusing their power, then we can take the power away from them immediately, and someone else will fill that place. But we can't do that under the current system.
We can under the current system, according to what you guys say. If people were woke enough to this particular subject,
what I'm saying is that when a cop goes out and kills someone unjustly, they get away with it all the time, and there's nothing we can do about it. They might even get fired from that job, but guess what? They go get another police job at another precinct in another district.
Okay. All right. So, hold on, real quick. This guy who's done 10,000 good jobs. Okay, we're all now friends with him because he's been great, right? He goes out tomorrow and he does something a little fucked up, right? He does something a little, man, that was on the edge, right? But you've been so good to us, right? We're going to let it slide. We know you. You're a part of the community. You take care of us.
It would depend on what it was, because obviously some people need forgiveness for small mistakes, but just because you're friends with someone doesn't mean that if they are fucking you over, you just forgive them for everything they're doing. No.
No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying
his actions are causing the people around him to have a worse life, then you're not just going to go, oh, well, we're buddies because you did some good things for me in the past, so I'll forgive all this, even though you're fucking me over now.
Well, I don't even think it's not necessarily...
It's not so much about him fucking over you. He fucked some other guy over, but he's been great to you. And you guys have literally been friends for 15 years now, right?
Well, first of all...
I'm not going to come after that guy.
I think we're on the wrong track because that isn't the same as the police. Like, the origination of this stuff is... I'm sitting here in the town I'm in now. I don't want any part of the police. I don't want their protection. They've never helped me do anything. All they've done is harass and extort me. So I don't want to be a part of that.
Okay.
I can't opt out of that. And my tax dollars are involuntarily taken at the point of a gun to fund protection, in quotation, that I don't want.
I understand that.
This other system is voluntary.
Right, but what I'm saying is that people are corrupt, and it'll all go back to what it is now with enough time.
But it's the free market versus, I don't know, I mean, force, really. Because, like in your example, if the guy does something screwed up, I mean, even if it's not to you, it's like, man, if you're hiring somebody to do a job, right, and it's something important, like, I don't know, let's say you're hiring somebody to babysit your kids or whatever, and like he does a good job, but then a friend of yours, he goes over there and he gets drunk, passes out, the kid hurts themselves, whatever. Like, next time you're going to think twice about hiring this guy.
Yeah, but that's because he did something directly to you.
No, he did it to your friend. You heard he did that to your friend's kids, and now you're hesitant to...
Even if it wasn't a friend, if you had just heard about this guy, one of his other employee, one of his other clients, he did this to, you're gonna...
But this happens all the time, okay? This type of shit happens all the time. You have had a good experience with this particular person. He's babysitted your kids 1,000 times, no issues. He babysits your kids, your friend's kids. One time, there was a problem. Okay. Well, you're not going to throw out the 1,000 times that he's been here and been fine.
And you probably shouldn't. But if the accusation is something like what Caleb's talking about, like where it's gunning somebody down, it would affect you if that guy was saying, no, he raped my kid. Then you go, whoa, I got to figure this out before you come back over here and babysit my kid.
Sure.
You know? Sure. So like it just depends on, I think, the severity of it. But it's just the free market. Because, I mean, anything. Like, even the best companies, you're going to find somebody, like Chick-fil-A runs like freaking top most of the time in most places. But you're going to find somebody in the 1,000 good reviews, you're going to find 5 of them that are like, this was awful. Sure. Like, you're going to probably disregard that because, you know, people are people and they're probably...
Right. But what I'm saying is like, when a guy gets such a good rapport with everyone, that's when he can start becoming corrupt, and we're going to all let it slide.
But I don't
he's
think
been
we
so
will.
great.
Do we do that with stuff now?
We do that with our friends all the time. Like, dude, if you killed a guy tomorrow, I'm not going to go tell anybody about it. like, you're my boy. I'm going to help you out. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but you see,
and that's an extreme example. I mean, I don't mean that in a literal sense, but you see what I mean, right? Like, we do things for our friends that we wouldn't do for strangers. And I think that if there's a guy who's close-knit with the community, who's taking care of all these things, oh, he fucks up one time, he does something a little shady, goes a little to the dark side, we're going to let it slide because he didn't do it to us. He's our boy.
I don't know that everybody will let that slide.
And I also don't know that every person who hires an individual for a job becomes best friends with them. I don't know where you're getting this.
What I'm saying is
assumption that just because a guy does good work,
we're going to hire the guy who's the best.
That's typically not how it works.
If you need him more than once, like people gain reputations, right?
Or just it's a business professional relationship.
But listen, I hear that stuff all the time in my job, like because you do get kind of a relationship with them because you know a lot of times.
Absolutely.
But I've heard realtors say, "Listen, you know, I like this guy. I'm friends with this mortgage guy, but he keeps messing stuff up. I got to drop him." Like one of the realtors I'm thinking of,
because that's directly affecting them.
Yes, but this would be directly...
No, not necessarily. There's a
7 billion people. If you have half a brain, you're going to realize that, okay, just because this guy did some good jobs for me, now he's starting to fuck up. You're going to realize, like, maybe I need to look into this. You're not going to just completely have all of your trust in him.
Yeah.
And you may not pull it immediately.
Yeah.
But anyone with half a brain is going to be weary if someone starts acting differently than how they have been. This happens with people in every type of relationship ever. People start changing and acting different. They get weary and they go, wait, what are you doing? This isn't who you said you were. It didn't matter the relationship you had before. If someone starts to change, people take notice to that.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, I think like before, I don't know. I've heard this about like cars made by like Honda. It used to be like, oh man, they'll last forever. You know, they're great. And I think it started to change a little bit, and they're just becoming more ordinary cars that, you know, maybe they're not bad, but they don't just last forever like they used to. And I think people are starting to realize that, and they're just losing that reputation. You do build up that grace for a while, but then, I mean, eventually it goes away.
Yeah, and you're right that a lot of times people, when they get that good reputation or that amount of power, they think, how can I use this to take advantage? And I think that the times that they're allowed to get away with it are because of the systems in place by the government. The times that they don't, that people realize, wait a second, they were a good product or they were a good company, but now they're not, those companies get shut down. They go out of business because people don't want that. The free market fixes it.
And that's the problem with the government services or whatever. There's no alternative. You can't, if you want out, you have to act with force. Like, and anything else, like if the guy cutting my yard doesn't do a good job, he doesn't get to say, oh, I'm coming back, and the only way I can stop him is shooting him. Like,
right.
It's just, you know, I can stop paying him.
Yeah.
Nobody's forcing me to pay him.
I just don't know. Like, I see what you guys are saying. It's easier to get rid of the guy, right? And maybe that's worth giving it a shot. But I just think with enough time, it's going to get big. It's going to get big like it always does, where you're going to have a guy who's so good for so long, he's going to put a crew together, and then that crew puts a crew together, and then the crew expands because we do have a free market, and they're really good at what they do, and so they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and now they not only patrol our area, they patrol the surrounding areas, and then they get bigger than that, and they patrol even bigger. Then we have a police force again.
They're only going to get bigger if they're doing the job that people want, because they're not the state or federal government saying these are the people who are going to patrol and you don't get to do anything
they can
about
also,
it. We pick them and we put them in place and you pay for it and that's it.
They can also
if
get bigger
if they
by
get
going
bigger and bigger and bigger, it's because we want them to, because they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
And as soon as they stop doing that good job, if we decide as a people that we don't want that, then they lose everything they have.
At what point are they able to not necessarily continue to grow bigger because they're doing the best job, but because they have enough power to grease pockets to keep people putting them in their position?
Pockets?
Dude, there's going to always be leaders. Even in an anarchy society, there's going to be leaders. There's going to be people who fucking rise to the top, because that's the Pareto principle, which we've talked about over and over. There's going to be a 20% that's at the top and an 80% that's below them.
Yeah, but
there's no getting
you
around
see that
that
as a complete negative, but it's not. And the fact and the current system we have tries to ensure that the 20% stays the 20%, the same. But that's not, the Pareto principle does not dictate that. It does not dictate that the 20% has to stay the same 20% and the 80% has to stay the same 80%.
Sure,
it
but
can change. And
yes, it can change, but it's hard to change it because the 20%
under the
have
system
the power.
we currently have.
No, any system, because the 20% have all the cards. It's hard to take the
That's
cards
not
out of their
true.
hand.
When it comes to
It is
humans
true.
in society, no, that's not true.
Well,
they
like,
may have more money, that they may be more wealthy, but that doesn't mean they have all the power.
Well, they have.
That's the big fallacy of our society.
I think
is
that they
the
have-
government has all the power. The people have all the power. We just don't realize it. If we all would realize it, they would have nothing. They're completely powerless.
Well, look at like social media, right? Like when I first started using social media, it was, I think this was just a St. Louis thing, but it was STL Punk, and then it was MySpace. And MySpace was huge. Everybody was on MySpace. Hardly anybody was on Facebook or any of this other stuff. And then I don't really know why, but apparently Facebook was doing something that MySpace wasn't, and everybody moved over, and now MySpace isn't a thing. And I think we are at the apex of what Facebook is going to be now, because I think people are starting to get more concerned about their privacy and tracking and manipulating what they see. I think that's starting to become people are consciously aware of that. They still are going to want some kind of a social media thing. So I think what we're going to see over the next, I don't know how many ever years, 3 to 5 years, is that Facebook is going to start losing market share to other things that have more privacy, decentralized features on them. So like, I think that will happen. Now, it's a slow thing, but at least it can be done, you know? So I just think that, like, that the market works in those ways. Like, yeah, like Facebook, Amazon, they're huge now, but Amazon's huge because they do a great job. Now, they're evil in a lot of ways and that kind of thing.
But I think that, you know, a lot of the evil things they do, the government is allowing them to get away with. When if they were held to a different standard of accountability, those kinds of things wouldn't happen. But I mean, like, and you have, you know, companies that fail constantly, and the government bails them out, and it's like, that's not. No, this company has failed. We don't need it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
And I don't think anyone who is an anarchist or follows anything like that has ever claimed that if you got rid of the government, you'd get rid of all crime and you'd get rid of all horribleness and poverty. And
I don't think that they're saying that either.
It's not going to be a good, perfect system.
No, of course not. But I don't think that they've actually thought through what is going to happen.
I think that they have.
I don't know, man, and maybe I'm wrong, but it just doesn't seem like they have, because it's too complicated. People are too complicated. What they think is right and wrong is complicated. Like it, and power corrupts. Why do we have every system turning to what it is now? Why is it that throughout history there's always going to be someone at the top enslaving the rest of us? Do you not think that's going to happen again with a new set of fucking masters?
But, you know. In the video I was watching earlier today, I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was talking about how with the things that the elites and the people in power are doing, they have an end goal. Mm-hmm. It's not just keep us in the current status that we're in right now.
No.
Their end goal is not good for us.
No.
And so, like me and you were talking about the other day, you kept saying, well, we might do something, but then eventually it's going to go back to like it was.
Yeah.
But if we don't do anything, then we're going to completely lose.
Isn't that logic?
Completely they're going to win. They're going to accomplish their goal, and then it's far, far too late. So I think resetting it sets them back, and it keeps them from accomplishing their goal. Even if things start to get corrupt again in the future, then you have to reset it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the same as like, that kind of argument would be like, well, I'm sick. If I take my medicine, I'm just going to get sick sometime in the future. So why don't I just stay with the disease I got?
And I understand that, but we have to look at what it's going to cost us to reset, and then how long it's going to last before we have to reset again. And then is the cost worth the reset, especially if it's only going to last 100 years?
But
one or two generations.
You really have to weigh the cost of the reset versus the cost of not resetting. That's what you have to weigh, because there is no comparison.
Well, here's the
whatever
thing.
The cost of a reset doesn't even come close to the cost of if we don't do anything.
Okay, but here's the thing. This is my own selfishness, right? As human beings, we only live to 80, 90 years old, right? I don't need to reset to live the rest of my life perfectly fine.
Not necessarily.
Maybe not. You may be right.
Because
it may go to shit.
It's getting real close.
And if it gets to a point where my day-to-day life is so beat down upon by governments to where I can't function, then yes, I'll fight and do whatever I have to do. But is it worth it to me right now to try to start this revolution?
But see,
probably not.
I don't think
probably
we
not
need to start a revolution of militias in the streets and guns and civil war and fighting.
It's just non-compliance.
Yes, and the spreading of knowledge. Like, the more people that understand the fact that we don't need a government, the less power the government has. And if you can take the power away from them, you don't have to fight them. You've already beat them.
And
that's the one thing they don't want us to know, is that we have the power.
Well, I think we have to have a government, but I think that it needs to be... Dude, someone has to do all the shit. Someone has to do shit.
I wasn't laughing at the statement as much as the way Caleb looked at me when you said it.
Like, you're gonna delegate these things to people. All the things that the government takes care of right now, you're going to fucking give someone that job when we take them down.
Okay. Yes, it has to be, but I think it should be private.
What you guys are saying is it's easier to get rid of them if they don't do their job properly.
That's right.
And I understand that. I get that. But it's just going to jump right back into it. It's going to jump right back into it. I don't
only if we say, okay, we don't like this, let's go back to the government, and we put that system back into place. But I don't think that would happen.
No, man.
I think that the people would try to corrupt things, but if we don't have a government that allows these people to stay in place, then we can just end the corruption at the root. And then maybe the next person will turn corrupt again, but then we can end that at the root.
Corporations are not a part of the government, but they run the country.
Because the government is allowing them to stay in power and be corrupt. You don't think corporations and the government are the same fucking thing?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
These giant corporations work hand in hand.
If you allow the free market to
fire it up.
If you allow the free market to do what it's supposed to do, you're going to have people at the top. They're going to have all the money, like they always have, and they're going to fucking put it in the hands of the people that they want their shit to do what they want them to do.
But let me ask you a question, though.
Whoever in your anarchy society who's leading this group or that group or whatever, right? You're going to have people come to them and go, hey, man, here's, $50 million. We want you to, go this route with us. It's going to help all of that guy's people. He's going to take that money and let some shit slide, and then we're back to square one.
I don't see it.
People are corrupt. That's why we have corrupt governments in the first place. People, when they get power, fucking abuse it. If they didn't, we wouldn't have these problems in the first place. You think just because we abolish the government that people are not going to be people? They are.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, my whole thing is like, how do you practically run a government without taxes, without involuntary taxes? Because I completely disagree with whatever, I don't remember who it was, but that last podcast when we were talking about that, and like, I think it may have been St. Clair when he was saying, like, if the guy down the street is not paying his taxes, you'll still pay yours. I don't think that is the case. I think when people stop paying it, but then why do people not pay it now? Like, listen, people, if they can get away with paying less taxes, they absolutely take that every freaking time they got
right, but that's because all the little men are paying their taxes, and there's no way to get around it, right?
Well, yes, because of the system that they have set up.
Exactly.
But if it's a voluntary system, nobody's going to pay it. Like, if it was like, listen, guys,
they will if they want. If it's crucial to their business staying running, they will pay it.
Yeah, but it won't be. They can just have privatized stuff do it. And taxation is essentially slavery. Because what happens is now, in my check, I don't know, I'm paying just in like federal crap that comes out. By the time it all gets paid and then I get refunded back, probably like 28 to 30% of my income goes straight to federal crap that I'll never get back. And so that means...
And they're not going to do anything important with that.
No, I never... Here's the thing. I don't see one benefit from any of that.
No.
Social Security, federal income tax, and Medicaid. Social Security will absolutely be gone before I can draw a dime out of it. It's unsustainable. Medicaid I won't ever have unless I become destitute, which hopefully I won't. And federal income tax... I use no federal programs. I don't send my kids to any kind of federally funded school.
Right.
I don't. The only thing, even if you want to say I'm using police, firefighters, roads, all that stuff is paid for on the state level by my property taxes and sales tax. So I'm not getting any benefit. The only thing you could say that I'm getting a benefit from is the military, but I don't know that the military's ever protected me. They're fucking around in the Middle East. They're not doing anything for me.
Listen,
so like,
I agree with you guys on that shit.
But that wasn't the point I was making, though. So I don't get anything for that it's taken from me against my will. And so what that means is they are essentially taking 30% of my time from me. They're saying, no, if you want the ability to go earn the 70%, you go earn that 30% and you give it to me first. And if I don't, I either can't earn it, or because, I guess I could just live not earning this much. But that, again, it's just slavery. It's making me go to work and pay for something I don't want.
Right. And I think that's wrong.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
But I don't think you can run a government without it.
I don't think you can run an anarchical society without funds.
No, not without funds, but it's all voluntary.
Yeah, but you just mentioned a minute ago that no one will fucking pay. If it's
they'll
voluntary,
pay for their individual voluntary services. They won't pay for a government like... No, I don't even want to say ours because it's ridiculously bloated. But even a bare bones government that runs military and all that stuff, on a mass scale, they're not going to pay for that.
And if you don't want to pay your fair share of taxes, you don't get the benefits that are provided,
then
that's great.
Yeah.
You should be able to choose to do that if you want.
Yeah.
Why not?
I agree with you guys, but
you don't, because we need the government still.
No, I don't think we... Look, the government's fucked up. The way that it runs is completely messed
I know
up.
what you're saying. You're not saying for the big bloated thing. You're talking about for basic
I'm just talking... Yeah, and I'm just saying, I don't know how we run this new society without it turning back to this. With a certain... Given enough time...
Essentially, that's what happened with the American Revolution,
exactly.
Right? Because
that's my biggest point that I've been yelling at Caleb for 2 days about, is that we literally did this already. We did this already. If we held to the Constitution and did what it says, and we didn't fucking create all these new ridiculous laws that are against the Constitution or don't coincide with it,
the Constitution is a worthless document that failed at its intention because the government is what it is now.
And it will do it again.
It either failed or it did exactly what it was meant to do. And that's what I think. The Founding Fathers were Freemason, Illuminati scumbags. They were not about freedom and individual rights. They just wanted to... They wanted the power for themselves. So and they came here and set up their system of government to make sure they stayed in power.
There was a pretty good diversity of thought between the Founding Fathers, I think. There was a big difference between Hamilton and Jefferson.
Well, there's a big diversity in thought in the current politicians, but you really think they actually disagree with each other?
I think the original Founding Fathers did, because
possibly,
those older politicians that would beat each other on the floor of the Senate. I think they did probably, but yeah, they weren't right about everything. But I do think that I don't know if they were all scumbags.
Maybe Jefferson, not all of them, but they were Freemasons and a part of the Illuminati.
I can give you that,
and it's very well documented.
I can give you that.
So, but they were nefarious in everything they did.
But do you think that the people who set this new society up are not going to be those same men? Freemasons,
not necessarily.
Illuminati.
Do you know what level they were though? I don't really there's probably a big difference between the average guy that goes to the Freemason thing.
Well, sure. My grandfather was a 33rd degree Freemason. And I don't think that he was, in the Illuminati.
Sure.
But the kinds of people who are Freemasons who are starting nations.
Maybe you know more about this than I do, but was it the same back then though, man?
It was way farther back before even then.
No, I mean, I'm saying was it the same type deal? Was it I don't know. I mean, there was obviously a big difference on travel and communication and all that stuff. Do you think they were able to hold it together as much back then?
I think they were...
if you want to
as well or more effective.
Why?
Because this has been going on for thousands of years.
Okay, but what specifically about the American Revolution do we think was Illuminati controlled? Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I don't know a lot about this, but Great Britain was the world power, and they were all about colonialism, and I don't know what would have helped the Illuminati cause or whatever to see this little crappy new nation kick them out of there.
They're the king of the long game.
And now you have America and Great Britain, two of the greatest nations who are allies, who work together and have been working together for ever since.
Listen, I'm not saying that. I think it was more like probably they weren't all on the same page about what they thought the government would look like. Some of them wanted more freedom, some of them wanted less. They were all wrong about any of that. But, like, I think directly after they kicked Great Britain out and there was the opportunity to seize power, I think a lot of them did that.
A lot of them did what? Seized power?
Seized it. Yeah, because they wanted to make George Washington the king.
Right.
And then he apparently said no or something like that. And then it was like they got rid of the taxes from Great Britain and they immediately imposed their own taxes.
Right.
You know. I don't
know. They were fleeing so that they could be the ones in power instead of the ones that were in power over them.
Maybe
they weren't fleeing for freedom and liberation of people.
And that's what I think that your anarchy leaders will do.
But I don't think that that's the case.
But it doesn't.
I don't follow anarchy leaders. I follow an ideology of beliefs that's we don't need a government. And if the more people would believe that, then it's not leaders, it's the population.
Listen, I follow those same things. I don't think we need a government, but I don't know how we keep people from being people. This has happened over and over and over. We leave England, we fucking create the same thing here. We literally take down our government here, start a new one, we create the same thing over again. Because people, when power is in front of them, do the wrong thing. Why? I don't know.
So let's not give them that power.
They're going to have it.
No.
They're going to have it.
Okay, but I don't have to give it. I don't submit to it. Insofar as the consequences aren't
that's what I was trying to tell you the other day, is that the power that the elites have is an illusion of power. Yes, they have money and they have influence and they blackmail people and they have power over people. But the power over the American people that they have is 100% an illusion. The only power they have is what we give them, because we submit to them and say, you are our masters, we do what you say, we follow your rules. But the day that we all say, no, this is bullshit, they're done. They can't just fucking bomb the whole country and kill us all because we disagree with them.
I agree with that.
So they have no power. We have it all. Therefore, we can take it away from them just like that.
They have the power because people are followers, and they always will be. And if you
not
change
always.
Who the fucking leaders are, people are going to follow someone else. There are leaders and followers. That's the way society works. That's the way nature works.
Yes, but sometimes
there's no getting around it.
Can become leaders, and sometimes people can just lead their own path. You don't always have to be following or leading someone. If you get people to talk about and realize their individual potential and change people's minds,
it's too scary for them.
Some people, yes, but those people will be fine if the system changes. They'll adapt. Because they're not being helped by the government anyway.
Who's going to fucking help them get out of their hole that they're in, and they're going to follow that guy and do whatever the fuck he tells them to do.
But you don't do that.
I don't do that.
Do you?
Yeah,
maybe not.
This is our point, though.
That's not the point.
If those
the point
people
is that most people are fucking followers.
If those people choose to follow someone who manipulates them and leads them down the wrong path, guess what? That's on them. Because you're not forced to follow that same person because you have the brain to know you don't want to follow them. And under this system, you wouldn't be forced to. But under the current system, you are. Whether you agree with or not, you have to follow the leaders and the overlords that are put above you because that's the system. You're forced to. If people want to make dumb mistakes and be, ignorant or whatever you want to call it, that's on them. But to force everyone to have to do something that they don't agree with is immoral.
I agree that that's immoral, 100%.
And so if we could get rid of that, then you just let everything else play out as it's going to be, because not everything is going to be perfect. People are going to commit crimes. People are going to follow wrong, corrupt people. People are going to turn corrupt when they had good intentions from the start. But without the government in place, these things will be so much easier to handle and deal with. So much easier.
Well, I do think, too, having the government there encourages people not to think, because they assume that the government is a good thing and that they are acting in their interest, and that so many people get their morals from stuff about laws. From laws. Like,
right.
The government says it's good. The government says it's bad.
Right.
Like, I think it would force people to think a little bit more.
They're not gonna, though. People don't have time.
People don't have time because they're filled with consumerism and this movie and that movie.
But that's
and the
by
latest
choice.
News. And
it's by choice. Those are not things you are forced to fucking watch or deal with or look at.
It is slightly by choice, but
it's all choice.
The government and the powers that be with Hollywood and the media, they do everything they can to keep people docile and mindless.
What do you
That's
think
what I was talking about when I said
leaders
the other
that
day.
emerge in this
all
new
of these
society
things
are
that are
going
being
to do?
put out that are always shoved down our throats are to keep people distracted from reality and the hard truths of life.
I think people do change, though. I mean, like, you obviously changed as far as, like, you were bought into the whole Christian thing and whatever those leaders said.
Right.
You stopped thinking that. You thought Bernie for a while was great.
Sure.
You thought Trump for a while was great.
Sure.
Now you're a soft status, but, coming along. And so, like, you're thinking, I'm definitely thinking more than I was before. Like, I think people can do that, and maybe most people won't, but a lot of people will.
It takes almost all of them thinking for this to work. I don't think it
does, though, man.
Because otherwise they're going to follow the jackass that's going to lead them down the fucking, road to hell. It's what's going to happen. They don't want to think.
Don't you think?
And they don't have time to think. And they don't care to think. They want to go to work, come home, and just fucking live. Right now we have a system that is manipulated, but if it was used correctly, we're supposed to be able to vote in and vote out who we do and do not want.
Well, let me ask you that. Okay.
We still don't even do that properly. Most of the people, if the system worked, don't even go vote. A lot of people don't even go because they don't even think about it. It's too complicated even to try to deal with.
By design.
But do you not think that the next fucking society, when people get in charge, people get in control, because you're always going to have people that rise to the top and always have people that fucking follow them, they're not going to make it hard for people to understand what's going on? Everything is complicated. It's very complicated. And in order to figure it all out, it's a full-time job. It takes a lot of time out of your daily life to sit back and go, well, okay, in our new anarchical society, who's doing wrong, who's doing right? We've been hiring this guy to do a lot of stuff, but lately he's been doing something wrong. And it can't just be one guy who fucking figures that out. The whole fucking community has to figure that out.
There won't be one guy, Daniel. There will be tons of guys, especially with the internet and all of that stuff now. Like, we have
going to be
more
people
choices
that don't
than we ever did.
even know the guy did it.
Here's the thing. There's so many things that, like, okay, unemployment's at an Trump says constantly, unemployment's at an all-time low, we got all this and this and that. But people still need jobs, people still need things. And there's lots of things people can do that they're not allowed to do because, you don't have the permits, or it's illegal to do this, or it's illegal to do it like that, or whatever. These kinds of things, people are out there that can do these jobs. And if you get rid of all the bullshit regulation and bullshit government, these jobs will be filled. People will accomplish these tasks that need to be done. Potholes will be filled. This and that. Those things will be taken care of because we live in this world. And we have to make it good. And if we're not spending all of our fucking money on taxes that don't even get the fucking roads fixed, maybe we can spend a little bit of that money and fix the road our fucking self. Those kinds of things will happen.
Listen,
because they already do happen under the current system we're in because people are so fed up with the government.
Well, let me ask this, though. Okay. Like, do you think even functioning as it should, even if there was not interference and things like that, that democracy is a good thing?
I think it could be.
Well, okay. Let me ask this, because I don't think it is. I still think it is using force on someone. You're just voting for it. So, like, in your opinion, if I say, Daniel, I'm taking your car, and I take it, is that a moral action that you're okay with? Okay, obviously not. So now, if me and Caleb vote, and we decide that you don't need your car as much as we do, but we both voted, and we take your car, that's still immoral, right?
Yes.
So how big does the group have to be before that's not immoral?
I think, in true status fashion, if there's other states that more line up with what you want, because it's going to end up this way anyways, guys. You're going to have groups that vote on things or decide things. Our road, just the road we live on, the people here are all going to have different opinions on what we want.
That's right.
And the majority rules. So the majority of the people that want it a certain way, that's what's going to happen on this road.
But I'm arguing the morality of democracy. Like, I don't think ever,
but I don't know how you accommodate every single individual's fucking needs.
They deal with it themselves.
You can't do it that way, though, because
they don't get their needs met, because it's not the government's job to do it.
It's not my choice.
Because the government chooses to do that in a way where they put that responsibility on the
anarchical
rest of Americans.
Society is going to choose the same fucking thing.
How?
This whole fucking road is going to choose that we want this guy to take care of patrolling the street, whereas fucking Greg down the road is going to go, no, I don't like that guy. I've known him for years. He's a piece of shit. Well, you know what? The other 30 of us like him.
Okay.
So that's what's happening.
And guess what? That guy doesn't patrol Greg's house.
Yeah.
No, he's still going to pass by his house. It's what
he can.
It's what Ayn Rand was talking about with the whole voluntary tax. We all paid for the guy. He's still going by the guy's house, whether he paid for him or not, or chose it.
But let me ask this question. So let's say that guy, that's right. I didn't pay for it. Everybody else in the street did. And that guy's driving by. I'm in the middle of the street.
He's paid to patrol the street, not the individuals on the street.
Yes, he would be. But I'm saying, like, he's protecting everybody on the street, right?
Right, including you, whether you like him or not, because you got outvoted.
No, but I'm saying from that. Let's say you're that guy. Okay, you're the guy that they paid to do this. Everybody paid. I didn't pay. I said, I don't like that guy. I'm not paying. Everybody else said, well, Jason's not paying, so you don't. If something happens over there, you're not obligated to do anything. Now, maybe you would, decide that if you saw me getting beat and extorted through my window in my house, that you would come do something and, whatever. But would you, if that's not your job, you're not getting paid, and nobody expects you to do it, and I hate you.
But I am getting paid, because I'm getting paid
you're
the
not
same.
Getting paid by
I'm
me?
getting the same amount of money.
Daniel,
No.
if you
Yes,
walk
because when I came in for this job, I said I want X amount of dollars.
Let me ask this.
And so just because you didn't pay for it doesn't mean that they didn't come out of their pockets to pay for your share. Because they did, I patrol the whole street.
If you're in a different, let's say you're on vacation and you're in a different state and you go to get some vape juice at a different store and it's real busy and there's a guy trying to get some assistance and figure out what's good, do you feel obligated to go tell him how, to help him work his vape mod? You might do it out of the kindness of your heart, but let's say you're in a pissy mood. Do you feel obligated to do that?
Of course not.
No.
But I wasn't paid by that particular company to take care of everyone, whether or not
but
they
they're not being
paid me
paid
or
by
not.
me. Like, the scenario that I'm writing, like, if something is happening to me,
It's a bad analogy. I don't agree with that.
Why?
Because the street paid a guy for a specific job,
The
and the job
the individuals
is
on
to
the street.
patrol the street.
There is no street.
The entire
The street doesn't have money. The individuals on the street have
job
money.
is to protect the individuals who gave him money.
Yeah, because I came in and I said I want X amount of dollars, and in order for that to be fair for everyone, everyone on the street needs to pay their equal share.
No,
because my job is to do this:
You're literally
patrol the street, protect everyone.
You're seeing it through a mindset of this service is forced upon you. My service is a broad service of I will protect the street for this money, or I won't do it at all. And if that's his idea, then he can fuck off. Because that's not what we're talking about. Yeah. It's, hey, I need you to protect my house. Okay, pay me this X amount of money and I'll protect your house. The neighbor says, hey, I also want you to protect my house. Pay me this X amount of money. And everyone who agrees pays him the money to protect them. Because it's a contract between that person and that home.
And it makes
not a collective community contract of we're going to pool our money together to protect our street. No, because not everybody on the street agrees. Yeah. Therefore, you can't do it that way. The one guy who says, I don't want to pay my money, then you say, that guy says, okay, well, I'm not going to protect your house. And he says, okay, that's fair. So the person who's now riding up and down the street because he has to protect the homes on the street that paid him, if he sees a crime happening in that house, he's not obligated to stop it.
And I don't know why he would put his life at risk to do it.
Yeah, if he chooses to, that's up to him. And I think that would be a great thing. That's a heroic thing to do.
And it's also a good advertisement for why you should be paying me.
Yes, but he has no obligation to do that. And that's totally fine.
Yeah,
it just depends on how you come in looking for the job and what you want to do.
It's a contract between individuals. It's not a, hey, I'm going to force my services onto this area, and so everyone has to pay, or it's unfair. No.
I'm not saying that everyone has to pay, but what I'm saying is that the spillover will still happen.
Maybe. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's the exact same thing that happens with me when I do credit counseling with someone. Like, I can't give that person a loan. Nobody can give that person a loan. But I'm hoping that through doing credit counseling with them, that if they can get their credit up, that they will use me. I'm also hoping that they will tell the person that sent them to me, hey man, he didn't get anything for it, but he helped me out. Like, I'm seeking business through somebody that isn't able to give it to me right then. So like, I think some of that would happen, but you would get spillover, and you would also, like, nobody really knows that guy isn't protecting your house. It's the same way I can go, I don't have to have ADT security, but I can put a sign in my front yard. You know? Like, it's not, like, I do think there would be spillover with that, but he's also not necessarily obligated to protect you. And I think a lot of people wouldn't, especially in that scenario, that analogy, because you could die. Like, I'm not going to die credit counseling somebody, but that guy could literally die for something that's not his job.
Yes, but if he came in asking for the job to protect the street, and 50% of the people paid him the amount that he wanted to protect the street, he's protecting the street.
No, I don't.
That's his job.
I don't think it is.
That's
protect everyone on the street.
See, but that's what police do. Police have, what do they call it? Their jurisdiction, their areas that they patrol, and because they're state police, city police, they control the streets. They can't walk onto the private property because it's private property. It's against the law for them to just walk onto people's land without being asked. They patrol the streets because the government runs everything. They own the fucking land, right? This is not that. This is an individual hiring someone to protect their private property.
Yeah, and it works out.
And he may have to use the street to get there, but he's not protecting the street.
I'm talking about...
He's monitoring their private property.
Right, but I'm talking about you're going to still have people that group up together. Because people
yes,
group
they would,
up.
and it's smart to do
and
that.
So you're going to have, half a dozen people on this street that go, we need a guy that's going to patrol this area. And we're willing to pay whatever he wants to patrol the area.
But let me ask, why wouldn't that work in a way that, like, okay, say, I did it, you did it, Greg did it, and another house way down the street did it. Nobody else signed up for it. Why wouldn't that guy just kind of constantly be driving around in that radius? We all have his numbers if we need to call him, and he's always only going to be a minute away. Like, and also it works out for everybody because I don't need him sitting in this room waiting for somebody to break in.
Right.
Like, because it just doesn't happen that much here. But it would be very expensive because let's say this guy needs $60,000 a year to live on. Whatever. That's what he expects for his services.
Right.
But if you then sign up 2 people and he only needs 60, but they listen, we'll each pay 35 or whatever for this service. Then he's making more and they're all paying almost half. And then we can sign up another guy, and eventually it tops out to where that one guy isn't going to be able to, in practicality, be able to protect these people. But if you do that, it is advantageous to group up. But I can always pull my contract. Like, I can always say, okay, I don't want to renew this. I don't feel like I need it anymore. It's a voluntary thing. Without having to ruin my life. Because people will make that argument too, that, well, it's voluntary to live here, you can get out. And no, I can't, because it would take such a fortune to move out of here. I don't know where I could go that would be just measurably better with it. And secondly, they'll tax the shit out of me while I'm leaving, and I still have to ask their permission to leave. And then the other government's permission to come in.
I'm not arguing anything about how fucked up our government is now.
I know you're not.
I agree.
But But why
I just don't know.
I don't know.
How
Those will be unintended
this society will fucking work.
But this is what I don't get about.
I don't see it being
argument.
any better.
This is what I don't get about your argument. Even if it was the same, in the sense of people are going to do bad things,
and they will.
You're still getting rid of half of the horrible, awful things of the country, which is the government. Because the government doesn't stop people from doing bad things. They never have.
And they never will.
And so what's the point of them? Yeah. Let's get rid of that government, because they just add to the horrible things. So if we get rid of that, then we have half of the problem to deal with. And maybe we can actually come up with some real solutions. We don't have half the problem.
We have all the problems to deal with. As soon as we get rid of them, we have everything to fucking figure out on our own.
You're acting like the government is doing that job for you. They're not. They're making it worse.
Listen. In a lot of ways, you can go about your daily life and not have to worry about anything that's going on.
Yes, because you're figuring out the problems for yourself.
And because
sure,
the problems that you're talking about aren't as prevalent as you think. Okay. Not everyone is just getting murdered in the street constantly all the time.
No, of course not.
Not everyone is always fucking over someone. Not everyone is always doing something evil. You can live your day-to-day life without the government interference or criminal interference and be happy.
Every government job still has to be allotted to someone after the government is gone. We still have to have people that deal with the waste. We still have to have people that deal with building new infrastructure and taking care of roads. Who are they?
The United States Postal Service. And now we have FedEx and UPS. You have garbage trucks. You'll have garbage companies that get the garbage and they make money off of it.
Okay.
You'll have everything will be replaced by private industry.
Sure. And then they get so big that they're the ones who are your overlords. They're your new masters.
When does that happen, though?
There are now.
The only time
they are the ones who are masters
by
now.
The government.
Dude,
the only time.
How are they going to have so much power and be so big and literally be the fucking waste fucking company of the entire United States and not have enough fucking pull to fucking move things the way they want it to move?
Okay,
it's always going to be like that.
I understand what you both are saying, but I guess I just don't. I think everybody's agreeing on the morality of it.
Yes.
Okay. So you're just saying that you don't feel like changing it yet.
It's not even that. I just don't think that the change is worth the sacrifice it's going to take to get us there.
You don't have to do it, but it may not be worth it now. I mean, clearly none of us think it's worth it now. We're not doing extreme things, but we're on a bad path.
Right. Anytime you cage someone or corner them enough, then they're going to act. I haven't been cornered enough to act. Yeah. And I haven't been cornered enough to think that it's worth a regime change or a new society where things are different. I just don't know. It's going to cost us all a lot.
But you do act, though. Like, you say that you don't, but you do. Like, you fairly well disregard the laws. Like, as far as you follow the ones that you find to be moral and don't the ones that you don't.
Sure.
You don't participate in the voting.
Right.
Like, you're doing, basically, I think, what Caleb's advocating to do. I don't think he's saying, let's go get some AKs and get rowdy.
Yeah, not at all.
And that's the thing. That's fine for me to do, right? I can sit here and go, okay, certain laws are you could disregard them and you're still a moral person. It's not they're pointless laws, right? And follow the ones you think are worth following.
Okay.
But people are not going to do that just because the three of us are.
I think people almost everyone does that.
No, they don't.
You don't think so?
No. Why do we have such a fucked up society?
Who do you know that doesn't speed?
Everyone speeds, but what I'm saying is like people.
I don't speed very much.
Well, yeah, but it's only to, like, I don't speed a ton, but it's only to avoid the consequences.
Yes,
but you
exactly.
will. But like if you're needing to get somewhere fast and you're like, listen, I'm probably not going to get pulled over if I'm going 9 over, so I'm going to set that cruise on 9.
Oh yeah,
and you don't care that it's 70 and not 79.
I mean, that type of stuff it's
because you know it's not the same as me roaring down this road at 60 and a kid or a deer or another car could actually
So that's another thing, right? So these laws are put in place, like speed limits. And they are ridiculous because not everybody's vehicle is the same. But you can't place... How do you do it? In an anarchical society, how do we keep people from flying off the fucking side of the road all the time? Because people... Now there's no speed limits.
You don't need speed limits.
I think people will do it. I think
you realize in other countries where they have speed limits that are either non-existent or way, way faster than what we have in the U.S. They have far less traffic accidents and
It's
deaths.
fine. Look at India, though. That place is a fucking shit show when it comes to traffic. Shit show.
That
People
has
are
nothing to do
literally
with-
running red lights, doing whatever the fuck they want. So if you just
That's
take
all
all,
about
of the
population in an
civilization,
area
no,
and-
dude, they
and
still
the way
have
things are
fucking
built.
lights and shit. People don't give a fuck. They do what they want. They drive where they want and do what they want because there's no one patrolling, giving them tickets, or making them accountable for what the fuck they're doing.
So you're saying India's an anarchical society?
I'm saying that when it comes to their fucking streets, it is. It's fucking chaos. It's crazy.
No, there are so many more things that go into play for the overpopulation and oversaturation of vehicles in India. You can't just say it's because they don't enforce traffic laws.
People do what they're
You have
supposed
no
to do because
evidence
they're
for that.
afraid that they're going to get in trouble if they
I
don't.
disagree, man. Like, I don't think, like, if I knew that there were no cops, I still wouldn't drive down this road at 70 miles an hour.
Maybe you.
But I don't think most people would.
I think a lot of people would. And they're going to run into your house now.
What? No, because they were going to do that in the first place.
No, man. A lot of people are held back. People break the laws on a daily basis.
The kinds of people that like
do
to drive
horrible,
70
shitty
down a dangerous road are the kind of people that like to break laws because they're breaking a law.
Man, I don't know. I think people,
That's an irresponsible
I think a
piece
lot
of
of
shit
people
person.
don't do certain things because they're afraid of the consequences of their actions. Based on the
Yes.
fact that there are people who are going to hold them accountable, right? You take the accountability away, people start going crazy. People suck.
But here's the thing, right?
I don't know, man.
The government does not decide consequences for people's actions.
Yeah,
Nature does. No, nature does. There is a natural order of things for when you do something, there's going to be a consequence for your action. So that will teach people what to do and what not to do. Because the more people drive around 70 miles an hour killing themselves, people are going to realize
It's not about them killing themselves. It's about them running into your yard and killing your child.
But what I'm saying is that you don't need government to dole out consequence.
But
that's fucking
the
insane.
The street that I grew up on had a. When I was in high school, this other guy he was like a senior and I was a freshman. I couldn't drive yet, and he flew down our like subdivision, like real close together houses on the street. He flies down this thing. There's this little girl like Judah's age playing in the street, hits her, kills her, speeds off. They find him, whatever. But there was a speed limit on that street and it still happened.
Yeah, of course.
And a ridiculous police force in that town.
Of course. People still break the laws even with the threat of the police. They still do it. But I think they'll do it more when the threat is gone.
There's no evidence for that.
But there's no evidence to the other way.
There
either.
is when it comes to things like drugs in places where they've legalized drugs, the number of users goes down. So there is evidence to say that when something is legal, there are people doing it less. There is actual tangible evidence for this. Now you can't say because it happened with drugs, it'll happen with everything. That's not what I'm trying to say. But there is some evidence that making things legal causes people to do them less. Everyone knows that there's a huge desire in humans to rebel, to do what authority says we shouldn't do.
Sure.
Right? And especially when you think that authority is full of shit and wrong, and you don't believe in anything they're saying.
Right.
And a lot of people feel that way about the government. So all the fucking laws that they put into place, people only just want to.
Are you telling me there's
break.
not going to be any authority in an anarchical society?
People are the authority of themselves.
Nah, we're going to have to allot jobs to people, guys. We have to fucking give someone the job of going and getting the guy who runs 70 down a road. Because he ran through your yard and did property damage.
I think that's more of just like a...
We have to give the jobs to these people, and then we're back at square one in 100 fucking years.
I think I could say something to that, but I like what Caleb was saying before, like about drugs. I think it applies to stuff like texting and driving, right? Like, it's illegal to text and drive now, here, and almost everywhere. Just look around you. Everybody's texting and driving.
People
but
do
now,
it less. People do it less than they used to.
no, I don't think they do.
I think they do.
Well, no. Why you think that is because everyone's still texting and driving and scrolling Facebook. But before, when I'd do it, I'd have my phone up here on the wheel. So I'm back and forth. I'm not even averting my gaze really from the road. But now, when I'm doing it, it's down here. So I got to move my head down here because I don't want a cop seeing it. It makes it so much more dangerous than it was when I was pulling it up here and doing it.
Yeah.
I'm one of the few people on the planet that does not text and drive. I know no one who doesn't text and drive. Everyone I know texts and drives. They've always done it, and no one's planning on stopping. I don't do it just because I'd never, unless I'm like driving a long distance, I normally just don't give a shit enough about whoever's texting me to, like, I'll be there. Wherever I'm going, I'll be there in just a second.
Is that why
and
you
I'll
never
text you
respond to
back.
me when I text you?
And
You just don't give a shit enough about
Yeah,
the person. Oh,
pretty much.
Got it.
But like, and it is because I don't want to deal with a police officer pulling me over, harassing me for some bullshit law that means nothing.
Listen,
right?
I
And
agree.
I also do believe that it is dangerous to text and drive. So I prefer to not do it, to put myself and other people's in danger. I don't want to do that.
Sure.
Josh used to read books and drive, like books.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, and some people are good at it, and that's fine. But
yeah,
I don't know. I just, I mean, you guys know me. I'm not a fan of the government. I think that they're wrong on almost everything that they're doing. I don't think we need them, but I don't know, based on the human condition, how we don't end up right back where we were. That's my issue with all of this, right? Like,
and I don't disagree with that either. I think that's very possible, but I think that it is still worth it to reset it, because if we don't keep resetting the powers that be, they're going to destroy us.
and you may be right. It may be worth the reset, but it's going to be detrimental to the people who do the reset.
I don't think it has.
I don't want to be that guy.
I don't think it has to be.
How?
I believe in a different plan, in a different view of revolution than some other people. Of we have to fight the government, because
they're going to give it up
truly believe,
without a fight.
Listen, I truly believe that the government has no power. The only power they have is lying to the people and saying that they have power. And I believe that if you can convince enough American citizens or citizens of the world and educate them on certain things, that they will wake up and realize we have the fucking power. The government has none.
We just have
And
the
if
numbers.
they
We
do
don't have
that,
the power.
we have the numbers because we
Yeah.
are the people. Therefore,
And-
we are the power.
Because we don't have the power, but the numbers, it's going to be a fight.
No.
Yeah. There's no getting around that, man. They have power's not an illusion. It's real. They have it. They literally have all the resources, all the money, they have the rule book to the game they're playing that we don't have.
But if
we don't even know the fucking rules to the game, and they're playing it because they have the power, because they own the book.
They don't have the power. The
They
only
do.
power they have is that they've convinced us that we have to play the game. If we say no, we don't, then all the power they have with their rule book is nothing, because we're not a part of that game anymore. Therefore, all of the power they have is a fucking illusion. They have resources, they have weapons, they have all of this and that, but they cannot use that against us if we as a collective country fight against our government in a intellectual sense. They cannot. They're not going to just shoot us and kill all of us. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow.
It ain't going to happen.
But I'm saying that
ever.
My mind was changed, your mind was changed, and I know that there are thousands upon millions of other people whose minds have been changed for the better, they've opened their mind and they've accepted new information, and that is possible. And that is my goal of how to change things and how to get rid of the government. I don't want a fucking war, because it's something that I'm not willing to sacrifice. I'm not willing to fight, because I don't want to do that, right? And I also don't think that we would win in a fight like that. I don't think that's how we can win. I think the only way that the American people can beat their government is to realize that we have the power and just take it away from them.
We don't have the power, though. We have the numbers. You need to get that correct.
But
we don't have any power.
In the number,
the reason that they have,
no.
He's misunderstanding me. The reason that the government has the power is because they control the numbers. The numbers are the power. The country, the population is the power. Everything that the powers that be do is to keep the country in control, is to keep the country slaves. Mm-hmm. If we wake up and go, hey, we are not slaves to you, we do not have to do what you say, we take their power away from them, because they can't actually make us do this shit. They can make one person who says, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Then they can send guns to his house and make him do whatever he wants. They can't do that to a whole fucking country. And I'm not saying that it's even possible or plausible for the whole country to have that same mindset. But I do think that it is possible for a large number and enough people to change their minds on this to make actual change.
And the next step will be a bloody war.
Not necessarily,
dude,
no.
You just said it's going to take a bunch of people's minds being changed. If you can't change them all or 99% of them, there's going to be a war.
No, you don't need
100%.
99%.
You're going to need a fucking large amount of them, dude. You're going to need the majority of them to be on your side with your thinking. And if you don't have that, if you have even 50%,
51.
Okay. If you have 50,
a long way away from 99.
Like, it's not going to work, man.
And how many think about how many people,
because you're going to have to fight
people there already are in this country
50%
who think the way we do. There's fucking tons of them. It's not like we're the only three people who think the government is corrupt.
They're not. There's tons of them, and they all have slightly different views, even inside of this view, that we're going to all argue and fight about, and someone's going to come to the top, rise to power, because that's what always fucking happens. There's something fundamentally wrong with human beings. We literally always go corrupt when power is handed to us.
But do you think that?
And when it changes, and the next guy in this society who gains a little bit is going to fucking go corrupt, because that's what human beings do. There's no getting around it. We're screwed.
I don't know
from
if that's
beginning to end.
True.
Try to live your life. I'm with St. Clair. Weed your way through it. Do the best you can to fucking navigate, to fucking avoid whatever you can avoid. Live your life the best you can and die. That's it. Because you can't change it.
And that mindset, you can't change it, and that's what I meant, is that's what they fucking want you to be thinking constantly.
But I don't understand practically what you two are saying differently. Practically what you're supposed to do. Because I'm sure anytime someone comes in the smoke shop and is arguing for big government, you're logically trying to convince them the other way.
Sure.
Right? Yes. You're not, and he's not taking a gun. He's saying he doesn't want to take a gun and do that. He's doing the same thing. It's that same thing, I think.
And I think that's the best way to make change is share information, share knowledge with people, because knowledge is fucking power.
Even after you get enough people on your side, nobody gives up their fucking throne. Without a fight.
But that's the same thing. It's the same
guys,
thing as somebody,
think about that.
But it's the same thing as somebody coming to my house and trying to break in tonight. There may be somebody I know of that's a big piece of crap out there that's being terrible to somebody, but it's not worth it for me to go take that person out because of the consequences and everything that goes along with that. But if that person walks in my house, then I'm going to shoot them.
Sure.
Right? Yes. So I think that it's that same kind of mindset. Like, everybody just stops playing. You're right. Eventually somebody's going to walk up and you're going to have to decide, do I want to give them my stuff or shoot them? But I think that's just life. And I think so too. Yeah. I don't know.
But that's what it will come to. There's no.
But it's going to come there anyway.
It's coming. It's coming, and that's the thing. But I don't think there's this whole pipe dream of if we just get everybody fucking informed, we could change it without a fucking shot being fired. No, it's not possible. Because it doesn't matter what the odds are on the numbers. The people at the top are not giving up their position without a fucking fight. It's just not happening. And they do have more cards in their hand than you fucking think they do. That's the other thing. We don't even know what they're capable of. Because they don't tell us. Because they're so big. They're so powerful that it's what we know about them is what they want us to know about them.
But
this game
my point is
bigger than we all think.
The crazy technology that they have that they don't tell us about, the weapons and the secret programs and this and that, right? If we as a people said we've had enough of the government and the way things run,
we would need a new place to move to.
They are not,
like we did in the revolution.
Listen,
we couldn't stay
come
here.
There too.
They are not going
exactly,
to
because
use
they did,
that technology.
And they did it here.
to kill off the American population. They're not going to do that. They can't. If they could, they'd have done it a long time ago, because that is their end goal.
They're not a black and white brute force type of gang, dude. They're the long game gang. And let's say we take them out. They're not all going to die. There are going to be people that infiltrate this new society and literally take it over the same way that they've done every society, because you can't stop the Illuminati. There's no stopping it.
I think that it has been stopped many, many times.
No,
because
it's only been halted for a minute.
Yes, and that's the whole point.
That's fine. If you think we're at a point where it's worth it to try to halt them, then sure. I don't think we're there. And I think that's where it all boils down to. If they start coming and knocking on my door, trying to take me away, put me in cages.
It's too late then.
That's when I'll fight.
No.
That's when people will be riled up enough to fight.
You don't understand. You can't fight the government. With a violence versus the government will never work. Because you attack the government, they have every right to fucking annihilate you. And they will, because they have the technology to do it. That's not how you beat the Illuminati/government. You cannot beat them with a fight. You have to beat them by taking the power that they have away, which is held within the U.S. population, or the population of any country's government.
I mean, let me ask this, though. Do you think that, like, I know what you're saying, that it always has went this way through history, but do you think that as the internet becomes more available, there's more information, it's more
I think that
easily
could,
findable?
I think that could help, but I think that it boils down to there's something wrong with humans, and we don't do the right thing when power is presented to us.
But do you, what do you, like, yeah, no, I think that's true, but I'm not.
And in every society, there's going to be people at the top.
People learning how to deal with their power. I'm counting on enough people learning to say, that's not right, this is why that's not right, and I'm not going to deal with it. Like, and I wonder if, like, as technology keeps progressing and more information and ideas and all this stuff is out there and can't be brought back, can't be suppressed the way that it used to be. If you couldn't find it in freaking Barnes and Noble, you didn't get the book.
No. I mean, I agree that this could be what causes a uproar.
Yeah.
It could be what causes a new revolution. Well, it could be what causes a new society, or down with big government, down with Big Brother. Like, I think that that's very possible. My whole argument here is that it won't last very long. That's it.
Well, yeah, and it may not, but the world is so much different than it was like when our parents were growing up. And like that's why I try to cut older people a little bit more slack. They didn't have the ideas in their head that we do, because if you wanted to know about something, like I said, you
had to go look at, you had to go to a library.
Amazon that started, just like books. You couldn't even, not only was stuff not available to read for free on the internet and YouTube and all that stuff,
you had to go to bookstores and buy it.
Before then, what did you do if they didn't have it and you didn't know about it? That idea didn't exist to you, right? You had to look a lot harder to find it. Now you just open your phone up.
I agree.
And I think that may fundamentally change stuff more
than we
realize.
It may change it enough to where people wake up enough to start a movement of some sort that gets us out of some of this hell. But like I said, my whole argument here really, because I agree with you guys 100%. The government is bad. It doesn't help us. They are our masters. We are slaves. This is not a good thing. I think my whole thing is that I don't know what is going to change. It may change for a little while. It may be good for a minute, but it's going to always go back to what it was, because it always has and it always will. And like I said, the people who are a part of this larger game that really have the rules to all of it, that know the information about it, they will infiltrate new societies. They will bring it back to their square one, and they will redo whatever it is their plan has been for thousands of years. There's no stopping it. I don't know how we get around it. You may have 300 years of fucking great anarchical society where everything just runs smoothly, and then eventually it's going to fucking fall, because everything fucking falls. Everything. That's
not an excuse to not do it.
You're right. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it still needs to be done. But
he doesn't like the word maybe. He wants you to say it's not.
It's not.
Okay, it's not. Fine. Maybe we should. But my whole thing is that we need to weigh what it is that it's going to cost us to change it. Because if it's just going to go back to what it was eventually, we better be real careful on what we sacrifice for this. Because personally, on a selfish standpoint, I don't want anything to do with it. I can live the rest of my life right here under this bullshit government, weeding my way through it, dodging what I can dodge, and living my life without dying for it, so that my future generations can fucking live for maybe 50 years of some sort of decent, better society before it goes back to shit. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's real weird, man, when you think about that stuff, because like you can think about like having kids. I sincerely and legitimately want my kids to have a very good life.
Of course.
And I also want their grandkids, my grandkids, their kids to have a good life, because that's going to affect them. You get down that a couple more generations, and I don't know how anybody really cares about it.
Right.
You don't know these people.
Right.
Like, so,
you're never going to meet them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same thing as, like, use the speeding example again. Like, if I am, if we're just going out to Memphis to hang out or whatever, and I got nothing going on, you know, maybe I'd like to get there 15 minutes earlier, but I don't speed because it's not worth a $150 ticket.
Sure.
If I get pulled over. Now, say I'm going from here to a business meeting, I'm running late, and if I show up late, it may put a bad taste in the referral partner's mouth, and they are like,
right.
Man, this guy can't even show up for a meeting.
It's worth the $150.
It's worth the risk of the $150 to do it. And I think that's just kind of how it's going to be. Like, you're right. Like, it isn't worth it to do anything but try to reason with people now. But if they come to my house and are like, listen, I'm going to take your kid because your thoughts are cancer to them,
right?
And the state will raise them. That's when
you start
guns
fighting.
Come out. Yeah,
of course, and that's I don't know. I agree with you guys. I hate our government. I think that an anarchical society would be better. I just don't know how long it's going to last, because people are the same as they've always been.
It won't. It may.
And that's what I worry about. I think that's it. I think that's all I worry about.
There's potential for it to last for forever. In a sense, nothing lasts forever, but I definitely think there's potential for it to be corrupt within 50 years, maybe even 10. But I think that any amount of time is worth it.
Maybe
any amount,
and it may be worth it just if it's
setting
them back. Because, and ruins their plans for 50 years. Yes, that would be great.
Like the things that these people have planned for the world in general is far outweighs any sacrifice you could make to try to stop it.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and some of it to a point, like it's like reading through Jordan Peterson's book when he talks about like stand up straight with your shoulders back, and like, and part of that is like standing up for yourself when somebody is doing something, taking advantage of you. Like he says, it's not only good for you, obviously, because you're not letting yourself be run over, but it's good for society in general, because there's some people out there that are just bureaucrats and want to exert power and everything. And if I stand up for myself, it checks them a little. You know? And maybe it's not enough to do anything, but if 10 other people do, eventually that consequence of that is going to get them thinking before they decide to exert unnecessary force. I don't know. It's just a cycle.
No, that's and I think that's the conversation is when is it worth it and when is it not? You know, and I think that's what I'm arguing here is I agree with you. I think that maybe it will put them in check enough, but we have to weigh out what we're sacrificing. We have to. Yeah. And it's so easy to jump from one category to the other. Like, you know, you start seeing how corrupt the government is. You find a different system where people are talking about it. It's really easy to jump on and just be all for it, right? Because it's like, it's refreshing. It's different. And right? It feels great, but you have to look at all the hard questions here. And the hard questions are, how long will it last, and what are we going to sacrifice to gain it?
Sure.
And until we can get clear answers on those two things, I'm out. Like, until you can say, this is what you got to give up, and this is, you know, potentially, this is what we're gaining from it.
But you're not out, because you're sitting at the smoke shop arguing with these people about the moral evil of government.
Right.
You're right. You're in as much as we're in.
Yes. Okay. You're right. I am in to the point where yeah, we should tell other people. We should talk about these things, but at this point, that's it, because there's nothing else that we should be doing.
That's the first and major step, because you have to change people's minds. You have to
right,
educate
but
people on what
we can't sell them a dream
truth is.
Without telling them all the facts either. Telling them what it is they could be sacrificing and what it is they could be gaining. We need more information on this stuff before we just sell this fucking topic to people without telling them all the facts of what it is that you're going to gain and lose from it.
But I think the reason that people think that I've never said this is going to be a utopia or
right.
easy. But I think people think that when they hear anarchists say it, because that's the shit communism's selling.
Right.
This is the utopia. If we can do this, then everything will be okay.
That's what's so weird about it, and that's what throws me back a little bit, is that it's so similar to me to socialism and communism when it comes to the way people present it. It's like, well, we haven't really been able to give it a good fair chance, and if we could just give it that fair chance, it would work. You know what I mean? And my thing is it probably would on small scales, but there's 300 million people here.
Everything's got to be on small scales, and what is smaller than the individual?
Right, but you still have 300 million people to deal with on a daily basis.
I don't have to deal with 300 million people.
Yeah,
dude.
One person has to deal with themselves.
Right, but man, there's so much shit that keeps all of this running for these 300 million people that we have to figure out what it is that we're going to do with all of them.
That's insane. There isn't anything.
They can't take care of themselves. They don't take care of themselves now, dude. They're not ready.
And neither is the government.
And maybe it boils down to...
So what's the point of me and you guys spending your money for them to not take care of these people who can't take care of themselves either? Why not get rid of that? And then we still have these people here who can't take care of themselves. But guess what? Maybe someone in the private sector will start an actual business or an actual charity and actually start helping some people or actually start doing something for real.
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like,
what'd you say?
We're almost at an hour and 30 minutes.
Oh, all right.
I feel like we've done some really
We've done some good work.
We've done some great work tonight.
All right. Let us know in the comments below what you think.
Next week, I'll have all the answers that you've been asking for, and I'm going to destroy you.
Perfect. No, listen, I want some answers. That's what I'm looking for.
I will destroy.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.